If this is your first time coming across my videos, please remember to like, share, and subscribe and enjoy the video. Milli Vanilli was a German-French duo from Germany formed in 1988. They became one of the most popular acts in the late 80s and early 90s with millions of records sold. However, their success turned into infamy when it was discovered that the duo didn't sing a lick of vocals on their music releases. Before it was Jennifer Lopez and Ashlee Simpson, there was Milli Vanilli, the original OGs of singing others' vocals or lip-syncing. Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus met during a dance seminar at the club. They bonded over similar experiences growing up in European cities like Paris. Rob said something clicked between us, and Fab said maybe because they both grew up in foreign cities where they didn't have many blacks. They attempted to find work as backup singers, then formed their own group naming themselves Milli Vanilli. They recorded an album for a small German label that sold a few thousand copies. Although they were focused on becoming famous, they struggled with poverty, living in the projects, and barely having money to purchase food. They would finally get their break when producer Frank Farian learned of the duo and invited them to the studio to listen to a demo. Before I go any further, here's a little information about Frank's background. Frank is known for exploiting black artists for their distinct image and robbing them blind. Frank started off releasing his own music in the late 60s, with any of his music having success, basically going double wood. In the early 70s, he started producing music for Stevie Wonder and Meatloaf, and in 1974, he released a song titled Baby Do You Wanna Bump that became a hit in the Netherlands. Frank had shied away from fame, so he hired a black group to be the face of his music, and he named the group Boney M. The four members' names were Liz Mitchell, Marcia, Maisie, and Bobby Farrell. He wanted Bobby to be the main face of the group because he liked his dance moves and his style. Bobby never actually sung on any of the music. Frank had him lip sync to his vocals. This is where it all started, with Frank having his artists lip sync to others' vocals. Bobby went on to lip sync on multiple songs. Boney M had 8 successful hits and 100 million records sold worldwide. The success continued up until the early 1980s. Bobby was fired in 1981 because he started to become unreliable. After being fired, Bobby exposed Frank for robbing them blind, and he wouldn't let them see their contracts. The group only got 9% of their royalties. One day, Frank asked Bobby to sign some papers, and like a fool, Bobby signed them without knowing or reading them, and mistakenly signed away his rights, royalties, and home. He was living in a 13-bedroom mansion in Germany and had to move in with his mother-in-law on food stamps and welfare. Now that Frank found his new prey, he was back in business and was about to recreate what he did with Boney M with Milli Vanilli. This act would be even bigger. They had everything he was looking for. They were 2 model-type looking guys with the perfect faces. Frank promised to turn the two into millionaires. In 1988, Frank signed them with the obligation of 10 songs a year. The duo signed the contract without reading it. Their singing voices did not impress Frank. Final remix to Girl You Know It's True was finished by studio performers Charles Shaw, John Davis, and Brad Howell. In 1988, they released their debut album, All or Nothing, in Europe. Then in 1989, the album was repackaged and retitled Girl You Know It's True for the release in the United States. They released their first hit song titled Girl You Know It's True on November 24, 1988, followed by several other hits, Baby Don't Forget My Number, Girl I'm Gonna Miss You, Blame It on the Rain, and All or Nothing. The album was a major success in the United States. producing 5 singles that entered the top 5 of the Billboard Hot 100s, 3 of which reached the top positions. In January of 1990, Girl You Know It's True was certified 6 times platinum after spending 7 weeks at the top of the Billboard 200s and 78 weeks within the overall charts. The success of the album earned the duo a Grammy Award for Best New Artist in 1990. They became instant superstars, which earned them many guest appearances on TV shows, magazine covers for Fresh, Popcorn, Smash Hits, and numerous other magazines, millions of fans, and luxuries like mansions and nice cars. Then on July 21st, 1989, things would take a turn for the worse. Milli Vanilli was performing at the recently opened Lake Compound Festival Park. Their performance was in front of a packed crowd at the 20,000-seat outdoor arena, broadcasted on MTV. When Milli Vanilli tape looped, Rob panicked and ran off stage. MTV's Downtown Julie Brown convinced Rob to go back on stage and continue his performance. After going back on stage to continue the performance, the damage was already done. The scandal had hit the news stations and magazine. It was no coming back from the scandal. After admission by the producers that the two were frauds, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences revoked Milli Vanilli's Grammy Award that they had been given for Best New Artist. The group never rebounded from the lip sync and Grammy revoke. The two went from overnight superstars to the joke of the year. TV shows like In Living Color made fun of the two and the scandal, and every late-night television talk show host also cracked jokes on them. They felt foolish and embarrassed that they let Frank talk them into lip syncing when they didn't want to do it in the first place. He gave them $20,000 to go along with the plans. And of course, Frank distanced himself and left them out to dry and take all the media scrutiny by themselves. The duo tried to make a comeback and record music with their real voices, but the public had already turned their backs on them. The damage was already done, and no one took them or their music serious. They tried to capitalize off the scandal by poking fun at themselves in a 1991 Carefree Gum TV ad.
How long? Till these guys sing for themselves. Carefree sugarless bubblegum.
And when that failed, the two became very depressed and underwent individual counseling. Rob was never able to get past the scandal and embarrassment, so he retreated to narcotics and violence, and he was arrested in 1996 for assault, then helped a ride from the most unlikely place, Frank. I guess that guilt was kicking in. By this time, the group had no money. With the help of Frank, Rob completed his 11th month drug rehab program and was excited about returning back to Germany to make music with Frank again. But a month later, Rob was back on the deep end and was tired of living under the dark cloud of Milli Vanilli. Sadly, on April 3rd, 1998, Rob's body was found in his hotel room by Frank and his then partner. Those close to him said Rob really died back in 1990 when the truth came out. He took a hard fall from the heights of superstardom. Rob and Fab never got a chance to reconnect again, but Fab said Rob will always be his brother. The group only released one album together, but they rose to fame despite the infamous lip sync scandal. Even though they didn't sing a word on the album, they sold it with charisma, looks, and dance routines. We don't even know if the album would have done well without Rob and Fab's face placed on it. Even though this was one of music's biggest scandals, they will always be a part of pop culture and would go down as the most famous lip syncers of all times. Thank you for taking the time out your day to watch my videos, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.